Hello and welcome to Comic Island. Here on our channel, we've gone over the origin story of the very first iteration of the Spectre, Jim Corrigan, as detailed in the earliest comics published by DC. Now we're going to deal with his time as the founding member of DC's first crossover superhero team, the Justice Society of America. Then at the end of the video, we'll get into the Spectre's time in World War II. Thank you for checking out this video. For more content about comic book history, be sure to subscribe to our channel. With a growing need to combat malevolent and superpowered forces increasingly plaguing the Earth, Jim Corrigan, also known as the Spectre, was part of the founding team of the Justice Society of America. In their first meeting, Jim was joined with the greatest heroes of the age: the Flash, Hawkman, Sandman, Dr. Fate, Hourman, Green Lantern, and the Atom. They had dinner with a civilian named Johnny Thunder who had been given wish-granting powers. At Johnny's request, each shared a story of their greatest adventure. The Spectre told a tale of an adventure he had long ago at his home in Central City. Jim was called in to investigate when a security guard was strangled by an individual with super strength. Murders continued, and Jim noted they would happen every full moon. Jim was then attacked by a living bronze statue, which would have fatally thrown the Spectre into a wall were it not for his ability to turn intangible. When the Spectre pursued the statue, it identified itself as Oom the Mightyy, an evil spirit that had possessed a statue in Central City. Oom claimed to have been from the dark side of the moon, and hunted on Earth eons ago before going to a distant part of the universe for a brief rest. Having returned, Oom relished in the opportunity to slaughter once more, but agreed to a gamble with the Spectre first. Whoever would bring a rare stone back to Earth could have the planet, while the other would have to leave this world forever. The Spectre and Oom raced off into the cosmos, but Corrigan was able to open a portal to a dimension he seemed to have a connection to called L-Space, giving him a shortcut to the stone. The Spectre arrived in a realm called Ysgardal, where the red moonstone they were seeking was being held. Though Oom called on a dragon living there to stop the Spectre, Jim was able to grab the dragon's tail and shake him up and down repeatedly, rendering the beast unconscious. Oom used the distraction to seize the red moonstone of Ysgardal, and the two raced off towards Earth. On his way home, Corrigan was able to superheat the stone, forcing Oom to drop it, and allowing the Spectre to seize it and take it back to Earth. However, Oom broke the bet and refused to leave, and enraged, Jim forced the being into the statue's original pedestal, pulled Oom's spirit out, and placed it within the moonstone, throwing the rock off into space. After all the superheroes finished telling their stories, the first ever meeting of the JSA was concluded. They agreed at their next meeting to introduce the team to the head of the FBI, after Jay Garrick, also known as the Flash, was able to get in contact with the man. The FBI chief was very happy to work with these new heroes to combat threats to America, in the form of spies and those who sought to undermine freedom. This was especially critical given that America was on the cusp of entering the Second World War at the time. The team readily agreed to help out, and each were given a mission. Corrigan was asked to investigate a sabotage at a munitions factory out in Pittsburgh. Using his powers of invisibility, Jim was easily able to find the saboteur and stop him with a single gesture, at which point the criminal was discovered by the factory managers and brought in to the FBI. However, on his way to the bureau, an armored vehicle crashed into the FBI car, and gangsters managed to grab the saboteur. Luckily, this allowed the Spectre to follow the car to the saboteur's superior, who in turn called the leader behind this operation. The ever-powerful Spectre was able to travel through the phone line and discover yet another saboteur, and by reading that man's mind, he was able to discover the mastermind was named Fritz Klaver, leader of a sinister organization called the Fifth Column. On Jim's way to confront the man, he was attacked by mysterious orbs Corrigan called vampire globes that tried to erase him from history entirely. But Jim destroyed them with the Ring of Life. Corrigan arrived to confront Fritz in Toledo, Ohio, where he met up with the rest of the Justice Society who had come to a similar conclusion, and together they brought down the Fifth Column, marking their first victory as a team. Similar activities by the JSA were wildly successful. Crime noticeably dropped, attracting the attention of criminal masterminds like Mr. X, a racketeer that tried to orchestrate the downfall of the entire JSA by organizing a series of individualized plots. Knowing the Spectre was very powerful, Mr. X went after the wary public perception of the man, and then tried to use a magic ring that nullified Corrigan's powers. This plot failed, and Mr. X ultimately was sent to jail. In the early days, it was often standard procedure for the JSA to meet, identify a goal, and each go off on their own missions before meeting up together again for a debriefing. This allowed them to accomplish a wide variety of tasks, ranging from tackling entire criminal operations all at once to helping raise money for war orphans as World War II ramped up around them. The first time the team broke this pattern was after the Flash and Green Lantern stepped down as full-time members, instead becoming honorary members of the JSA, along with two other popular superheroes, Batman and Superman. Similarly, Johnny Thunder, thanks to his wish-granting abilities, found himself more and more a part of the team and eventually was also made an honorary member. After a harrowing battle with an evil man called Professor Elba, the JSA was joined by another member, Dr. Midnight. Though various other team members would come and go, such as Our Man leaving the team and a hero named Starman joining in his stead, the Spectre remained an essential part of the JSA throughout, always cooperating well with his peers. As foreign tensions between America and the Axis grew, the JSA was asked to perform covert ops in South America, in the hope of preventing spies from bringing fascism to those countries. The Spectre was sent to Buenos Aires in search of a military aircraft going missing in the area. Corrigan discovered Nazis were stealing the planes, but Jim was able to stop them by turning giant and destroying the vehicles, then defeating the men responsible. The JSA would continue working closely with the US government during this time, defeating more spies, aiding research scientists, and anything else that would help further protect America. In one adventure, the JSA was transported to the year 2442. While each member of the JSA went on their own private adventure in the future, Spectre traveled to the world of Ultima, the farthest outpost of civilization. Jim found a floating city there and defeated two assassins, before traveling back to the past with the rest of the team. After this, the US officially entered World War II. Jim decided he couldn't enlist, knowing his non-living status would be a problem during recruitment, though the rest of the team eagerly joined. Corrigan meanwhile decided to stay on the home front, protecting it from any possible threats. This plan was short-lived, however, as each other member of the JSA was so impressive in the military, the commanders asked the team to get back together as a special unit. They invited another hero who had also proven remarkably effective in the early days of the war. So Wonder Woman joined the team, which became known as the Justice Battalion. Whether facing off against threats such as the Black Dragon Society or protecting the food supply, the Justice Battalion proved a remarkable fighting force to be reckoned with. Recognizing the threat, a group of Nazis built a number of rockets, captured the battalion, and forced each of them into one before launching them into space. The Spectre arrived on Pluto, where he found a hidden underground city, populated by refugees from a star system called Andromeda. The Spectre helped the people of this city deal with an invading faction and made a repair to their protective infrastructure, before he raced off back to Earth. Together, the JSA defeated the scientists responsible for building the rockets, and rejoined the war effort, much to the fury of Hitler himself. Inevitably, all things must come to an end. So was true of World War II, and the JSA ultimately returned home to resume their traditional crime-fighting ways. Though Jim remained a superhero in his home of Central City, and as a member of the JSA, little did he know that things would soon forever change the once living man.